On March 7, 2025, Meghan Markle committed an act that shook the foundations of royal tradition, an event so audacious it violated the codes the royal family had honored for centuries. Sources reveal that during a high-profile charity gala in New York, she not only disregarded the seating protocol that had guided generations of royals, but openly ignored cues from palace aides, placing herself above senior members and guests alike. This was more than anxiety. It was a violation of protocol, a transgression against the sacred traditions of royalty that govern public behavior, hierarchy, and the preservation of dignity. The significance of this moment becomes clear when considering that such protocols are not mere formalities. They are expressions of duty, respect, and tradition. What happened next would expose the truth that many had suspected, but few dared say. Meghan Markle was prepared to reshape her role, regardless of the established order. The initial transgression was merely the opening chapter in a cascading pattern. From that evening onward, micro-revelations began to surface, each one subtly building a narrative of repeated transgressions. On March 15th, photographs from a private dinner in Los Angeles revealed Meghan arriving late, dressed in a manner starkly contrasting the agreed dress code for the event. Observers noted the audacity. This was not carelessness. It was a calculated display of arrogance. Why would someone who had pledged service to the crown so brazenly flout its codes? Just 2 days later, insider accounts confirmed that palace staff were left scrambling to adjust seating arrangements and manage guest expectations, evidence of a pattern that would become increasingly difficult to ignore. The timeline reveals further subtle but telling signs of premeditation. Around May 2025, records show that Meghan began consulting legal advisors about retaining the Duchess of Sussex title, a designation granted by marriage. This public expression of fear regarding title loss, tying her global brand to a royal endorsement, was a profound violation of protocol. Observers noted unusual correspondence with palace staff and media intermediaries, signaling preemptive measures to protect her influence. The careful curation of her public statements and the strategic legal maneuvering suggested a defense of personal interests that prioritized self-preservation over adherence to traditional royal humility. Photographs from official appearances reveal calculated body language, postures designed to assert authority, yet underscored by tension, suggesting awareness of an impending threat. The discerning observer recognized this pattern immediately. By the end of March, further inconsistencies emerged. Friends, if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot, and it keeps our little circle growing. Thank you. All right, let's go back to what happened. In a recorded virtual meeting with charity organizers, Meghan contradicted statements she had made publicly regarding the scope of her involvement. Sources close to the situation described confusion among the coordinators, who struggled to reconcile her private commitments with her public declarations. This manipulation not only disrupted operations, but highlighted an underlying principle. The pursuit of personal visibility often eclipsed any duty toward institutional service. This was the beginning of a series of actions designed to elevate her profile, while simultaneously undermining the cohesion of the royal household. In July 2025, leaked statements further confirmed manipulation in the narrative presented to the public. Meghan publicly emphasized charity work and media projects, portraying herself as a dedicated servant of the crown. However, internal correspondence shows a different story. Timing inconsistencies between statements, strategic media placement, and selective emphasis on projects that elevated her personal profile. The evidence clearly shows that this was not casual miscommunication. This was a deliberate, calculated strategy. April brought another revealing episode. During the unveiling of a commemorative plaque in London, Photographs show Meghan deliberately distancing herself from senior family members, walking ahead of her peers in a manner that visibly irritated attending officials. Staff accounts described the tension. Aides whispered about the violation of protocol, noting that even minor deviations are treated with utmost seriousness within royal circles. This pattern was consistently contrasted with the conduct of other royals. While Kate Middleton adhered meticulously to dress codes and precedents, Meghan's deviations were both conspicuous and repeated, illustrating a pattern of growing defiance. What motivates this repeated disregard for protocol? When we look back, the answer is clear: a calculated move to maintain influence outside formal duties. In mid-April, body language experts observed a telling detail during a public event at Kensington Palace. Meghan's posture and gaze repeatedly avoided engagement with Queen Consort Camilla, while showing overt attention toward media photographers. The significance becomes undeniable. This wasn't mere nervousness or style preference. She was consciously signaling autonomy and control, a transgression of the sacred deference historically owed to the crown. Those who saw this from the beginning recognized the underlying threat. The long-standing expectation of service above self was being challenged. By late April, the first major contradiction surfaced between Meghan's public image and her private behavior. While presenting herself as a tireless advocate for social causes, internal reports indicated her participation was selective and often performed for maximum media visibility rather than impact. Connect the New York Gala, the Los Angeles dinner, and the London plaque, and a pattern emerges, a sequence of calculated actions prioritizing personal brand over royal obligation. May intensified scrutiny. On May 2nd, during a royal family gathering in Windsor, Meghan's interactions with staff revealed subtle yet significant breaches of decorum. Photographs captured her dismissing a long-standing protocol regarding audience with senior royals. Insiders described a palpable tension as aides struggled to maintain order. Observers couldn't help but notice the expressions of senior members, an unmistakable mixture of surprise and disapproval. This was more than a single infraction. It was a recurring challenge to authority. By early June, reports surfaced of Meghan preparing behind the scenes for entrepreneurial projects, stepping away from high-profile appearances. While framed as strategic philanthropy, the timing and nature of these ventures suggested another motive: the consolidation of personal power and influence independent of royal structures. Friends, if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot, and it keeps our little circle growing. Thank you. All right, let's go back to what happened. According to insiders, she carefully selected projects with maximum media visibility and potential brand elevation. The discerning viewer recognized the pattern: repeated prioritization of personal ambition over traditional duty. The evidence of betrayal was now overwhelming. Sources close to the family noted repeated avoidance of counsel and distancing from senior members, particularly Prince William and other advisors tasked with upholding protocol. Observers pointed out that meetings intended to reconcile duties and expectations were postponed or conducted through intermediaries, creating a disconnect that hindered direct communication. This wasn't neglect, it was an abandonment of duty. Those who had defended Meghan publicly fell silent as evidence of this pattern surfaced. By June, the consequences of these actions began to emerge. Media outlets, long deferential, shifted tone. Headlines highlighted protocol violations, strategic missteps, and conflicts with senior royals. Polling data revealed a steady decline in public sympathy. The precise moment public sentiment turned was captured in the widely circulated June 12th photograph of Meghan arriving at a royal ceremony with a visibly dismissive posture toward senior family members. It was after this event that the veneer of grace finally cracked. From June to July, the unraveling accelerated. Spotify and Netflix projects faltered under public scrutiny. Commercial partners expressed concern over brand association, and invitations to royal events dwindled. Sources note that family members maintained distance, and informal gatherings excluded her. In July, Meghan's communication style came under scrutiny. In interviews and social media posts, she presented narratives that conflicted with accounts from insiders, subtly rewriting timelines and minimizing her role in controversies. The timeline exposes the truth. Repeated contradictions reveal a sophisticated effort to shape perception while minimizing accountability. By late July, tension within the family was palpable. On July 23rd, photographs from a private luncheon show Meghan seated apart from senior royals, ignoring subtle cues to adjust her positioning. This betrayal of tradition activated widespread moral disgust among those committed to maintaining royal integrity. August marked the decisive turning point in public perception, the moment of systematic collapse. Following reports of Meghan being snubbed at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday celebration, the narrative shifted from admiration to skepticism. Polling data revealed a decline in positive perception among long-term royal observers, particularly in the 45-80 age bracket. The subsequent loss of status was undeniable. Platform partnerships, previously robust, encountered turbulence. Reports indicated that planned media collaborations faced renegotiation or were deferred indefinitely. Invitations to social and charitable events became selective, signaling both internal and external distancing. Photographs from November 2025 show isolation in high-profile gatherings, highlighting the visual confirmation of moral and social judgment. Each instance confirmed the pattern: attempts to assert independence and maintain influence without compliance to tradition invited consequence. A critical juncture arrived when grace and potential redemption were offered but refused. Staff sources indicated opportunities for acknowledgement, compromise, or demonstration of alignment with institutional expectations. Instead, the strategy remained steadfast: public statements, legal preparation, and selective engagement designed to maintain leverage. The failure to accept these avenues catalyzed the closure of options, creating a scenario where moral and social consequences were inevitable. Each refusal further validated the in-group's predictions and moral assessment. The timeline demonstrates clear choice: double down or reconcile, and she chose the former. This refusal was seen again. Between January 22nd and 25th, failed redemption moments became critical. There was an opportunity for acknowledgement, a private meeting with the Queen and Prince William, offering apologies and gestures toward repair. But sources indicate Meghan chose to double down, maintaining public statements of defiance. There was a moment when she could have admitted missteps and recalibrated, a source remarked. Instead, she persisted in asserting personal narrative over institutional respect. The audience witnessed choice as consequence, satisfying the just world expectation, transgressions followed by inevitable judgment. The Duchess had chosen her fate, and the process of moral and institutional isolation became irreversible. The massive dopamine payload begins now. October 2nd exposed the core deception. A thorough examination of public statements, private communications, and media appearances revealed a consistent pattern: deliberate manipulation designed to enhance personal profile at the expense of institutional integrity. What becomes undeniable is the motive: self-promotion disguised as service, arrogance masquerading as duty, and personal gain camouflaged as benevolence. Records show multiple timelines where claims directly contradicted actions, yet each contradiction served to elevate her influence. Connect these facts, and a pattern emerges. This was not a series of mistakes. This was calculation. The full pattern of behavior, the strategic legal positioning, selective media engagement, distancing from family and defiant public posture, is united by a single thread, a calculated preservation of identity and influence predicated on retaining the Duchess title. It was an orchestrated plan to protect brand and authority externally while navigating reduced official duties internally. The evidence clearly shows that public image and private calculation were intentionally divergent. The moral law is now explicitly clear. What Meghan failed to understand is a simple, immutable principle. Respect cannot be demanded, it must be earned through service. Tradition exists to protect those who honor it. The crown does not exist for individual advantage. Individuals serve the crown. Humility is not weakness, and arrogance carries predictable consequences. Duty transcends personal desire, and failure to align personal ambition with collective principles results in isolation and judgment. Her actions, in contrast, prioritized individual brand over institutional fidelity, illustrating the inevitable erosion of influence when personal ambition disregards sacred structures. Vindication arrives for those who observed from the beginning, those who questioned her trajectory, who recognized the early signs of calculated deviation, have now been validated. Their instincts, warnings, and assessments align with observable outcomes: restricted access, media scrutiny, and public skepticism. While detractors may have previously labeled concerns as jealousy or bias, the evidence now shows that these early warnings were not only justified, but understated. The discerning observer sees clearly that the predicted trajectory of consequence has materialized in alignment with initial assessments. Every micro-revelation, every ignored warning, every calculated defiance aligns with a single truth. The Duchess's actions violated trust, tradition, and dignity. Tribal validation surges for those who trusted instinct over narrative. Observers who warned of manipulation can finally declare, "We were right." The mask has fallen, revealing the true alignment of ambition, calculation, and disregard for the sacred protocols of monarchy. The moral summary is unequivocal. The unfolding events serve as a cautionary tale. Institutions endure because they uphold principles greater than individual desire. Arrogance, when it challenges the foundations of duty and tradition, will always meet the same consequence. The self-inflicted breach has served to confirm the judgment that was quietly forming. Transgressions against tradition and duty have consequences, and they arrive swiftly and with clarity. Yet, the final chapter may not be written. The narrative remains unresolved. Questions persist about future legal proceedings, potential memoir disclosures, public appearances, and the enduring status of the Duchess title. Recent reports suggest ongoing legal preparations that could further redefine her role and public persona. The question that remains unanswered is whether Meghan will adapt her behavior or continue on the path that has led to such unmistakable consequences. The full story is not yet finished, and the final chapters will continue to test the balance between personal ambition and institutional duty. Only time will reveal whether the pattern repeats or resolution emerges. These observations are drawn from publicly available court documents, verifiable interviews, dated photographs, published polls, and staff accounts. Viewers are encouraged to verify these events through multiple sources and form their own conclusions. The truth, as always, reveals itself to those patient enough to observe. And you have been patient and observant. You are one of the discerning ones who saw through the facade, recognized the pattern, and understood the lessons that tradition and duty imparted. The full accounting may take years, but the verdict is already clear. The final chapters will depend on the choices made in private corridors and public scrutiny alike. And if you love royal surprises, click on the video on your screen. That's the next chapter, and you won't believe what they did.